Tonight, let us drift gently into the ancient echoes of the lamentations of the Trojan women. In the quiet moments before sleep, we will explore the profound sorrow and resilient spirit of those who were left behind in the shadow of the Trojan War. As the city of Troy fell, these women bore the weight of heartache and the strength of survival. Allow their story to guide you to a place of tranquility, where history stirs softly. And now, let the tale unfold. In the depths of the ancient past, a fateful night descended upon the once mighty city of Troy. The clear summer sky bore witness to a betrayal that was as potent as the spear that would pierce a warrior's armor. It was under this starlit canopy that the Greek soldiers emerged from the Trojan horse, a cunning gift that masked their intent, pouring into the city with ruthless determination. They breached the formidable walls of Troy, those bastions that had withstood a decade of siege, now reduced to echoes of their former glory as shadows of destruction crept upon them. With practiced brutality, the Greeks set fire to the city, the flames a grim dance of reds and oranges against the night. Towers that had once stood tall succumbed to the relentless blaze, crumbling like the futile hope of their defenders. The air was thick with smoke and the acrid smell of burning timber, a pungent reminder of irreversible loss. The devastation was as much a fire in the hearts of the survivors as it was a consuming force upon their homes. Every crackle of the flames seemed to whisper the finality of Troy's downfall. Casting her gaze over the ruins, Queen Hecuba stood amidst her royal city turned to chaos. Her heart carried the weight of 1,000 laments as she surveyed what remained of her world, a world she had nurtured and ruled over with regal grace. Now it lay shattered, her people scattered like the very stones of the walls that failed to hold their relentless adversary at bay. The queen's eyes, once pools of defiance, now mirrored the smoke-draped skies, gray and heavy with sorrow. The Trojan women gathered in clusters amidst the wreckage, their mournful cries a haunting symphony of anguish. It was a scene of raw human grief, where formerly vibrant lives were now merely muted silhouettes against a backdrop of devastation. Each face was a testament to the city's spirit, now marred by despair, but not entirely extinguished. They clung to each other, seeking solace in their shared suffering, their voices rising in a collective lamentation that seemed to fuse with the dark, star-strewn fabric of the universe. Among them was Cassandra, Hecuba's daughter, her eyes distant and resigned yet piercingly aware. Gifted, or cursed, with prophecy, she alone foresaw the shadows that loomed on their horizon. Her voice, though soft, carried the weight of futures seen and foreordained fates unable to alter. She whispered of grim destinies, her words blending into the cries of her fellow women, warnings destined to be unheeded, much like the cries of night birds ignored by the coming storm. Not far from Cassandra, Andromache stood, her heart heavy with more than just the loss of Troy. She mourned for Hector, her fallen husband, whose courage had once lent strength to the walls now laid to waste. His valor lived in her memory, even as her eyes beheld the city's fiery end. She clutched at the charred remnants of their shared past, seeking the endurance to face a world devoid of the man who had been her strength and her love. Amidst the ruins, an infamous figure re-emerged, Helen, whose unparalleled beauty had sparked this calamitous war. Her eyes were shadowed with the weight of reflection, acknowledging the role she played in this tragedy. She wandered through the remains, perhaps seeking redemption or simply understanding the extent of the havoc her life had inadvertently created. Under the scrutiny of both flames and survivors, she wore her remorse silently, each step heavier than the last. It fell to Hecuba, with the heart of a queen still beating against the ruins of her realm, to rally the women. Despite her own grief, she endeavored to stoke the embers of dignity and hope within them. With a voice softened yet strengthened by sorrow, she urged them to hold fast to what honor remained, to stand united against the swallowing void of despair. Her resolve was a flickering light in the shadow of Troy's demise, a beacon that whispered of resilience amid ruination. Thus, the dawn of their lamentations unfolded, each breath taken amidst the ruins serving as a tribute to their enduring spirit. The heart of Troy would beat on, not in its walls, but in the souls of those gathered amidst the ashes. Their story had begun anew, in the realm beyond what they had known, seeking solace in togetherness and strength in the face of insurmountable loss. In the dim light of dawn, surrounded by the soot and rubble of what once was Troy, the Trojan women sat in silence, their hearts heavy with the weight of recent calamity. Hecuba, the former queen, peered through the soft orange glow of the rising sun as she wove through her memories of Troy's prosperous past. Before the war, Troy had been a bustling city, its markets alive with voices and laughter, its towers reaching for the heavens in proud defiance of time. Hecuba recalled the vibrant festivals, the feel of cool marble beneath her feet in the throne room, and the harmony that defined daily life. This retrospective journey ignited a deep ache in her soul, a yearning for the days now irretrievably lost. Yet amidst these reflections lay an ever-glowing ember of hope, nurturing within her a steadfast resolve to protect the essence of Troy. Nearby, amidst the pastel hues of the early sun, Cassandra, with her tragic gift of prophecy, began to express the burdens she bore. Cursed never to be believed, her visions had haunted her like relentless shadows. She spoke of the impending fate she had foreseen, the capture of her people and their descent into slavery. Her voice was a quiet murmur, carrying an eerie calm born from resignation to what she knew would happen. Though often dismissed by those around her, Cassandra found solace in the silent acknowledgement of what was yet to unfold, her serenity acting as an unseen anchor amidst chaotic seas. In the ash-laden surroundings, Andromache, bereft without her noble Hector, closed her eyes and traveled back through the corridors of time to moments of joy and companionship. Memories of Hector's strong arms enveloping her, of his laughter filling their home with warmth, tore at her heart. She was now a widow, her future uncertain. With Hector gone, the vulnerability of her situation was a specter that loomed constantly in her mind, shadowing her every thought with dread. Yet even in her mourning, she clung to the resilience Hector would have wanted her to embrace, knowing that her survival was the last testament to her enduring love for him. Helen, standing slightly apart from the others, faced the weight of her role in the tragic saga that had unfolded. Her unparalleled beauty had been both a blessing and a curse, and now, amidst the ruins, she found herself under the critical gaze of her own conscience. Deep within, she lamented the chain of events her existence had set into motion, feeling the palpable judgment from the world around that seemed to echo in the silence of dawn. She reflected on choices and consequences, the tarnish they had placed upon her radiance, sparking an introspective journey she had long avoided. Hecuba, with a trembling voice, spoke of her sons, Paris and Hector, and the profound void their absence had created. Theirs was a legacy built on the sands of courage and defiance, yet now, they lived only in memories. Her recounting was a whisper against the backdrop of the morning, tales of Paris's courage and Hector's unyielding honor forming a lament of what could have been. This loss was compounded by the dread of what lay ahead for her remaining kin. The uncertainty of potential enslavement by the Greeks tangled tightly with their grief, each woman envisioning futures filled with chains and sorrow. Attempting to ease the searing pain that connected them all, the women sought comfort in each other's company. They reached for one another, their shared touch a balm against the pervasive despair. Amidst the ashes lay an unspoken bond, a collective understanding that even in their tears, they weren't alone. Through whispered stories and supportive gazes, the fragments of their shattered spirits began to piece together, crafting a delicate mosaic of communal strength. The gradual rise of the sun cast gentle, amber hues over their gathering, illuminating faces marked by anguish but hinting at an undercurrent of resistance. In their unity, a subtle resilience started to reveal itself, a flickering resolve to confront their fate with dignity. Though the shadows of the past loomed large, the women of Troy found a fleeting but vital reminder of their inherent strength, readying themselves silently for the trials to come. As the dawn fully embraced the horizon, their mourning gave way to a newfound determination. The silence of Troy's ruins held echoes of their voices, yet it was in the resolve of their spirits that a flicker of hope remained. With personal grief addressed, a shift began, a focus towards survival, resilience, and the preservation of the essence of Troy, regardless of physical chains. The day may have begun with lamentations, but as the light grew brighter, so too did their will to endure. Amid the smoldering ruins of Troy, a silence hung in the mid-morning air, broken only by the occasional murmur of the sea. The tragic beauty of Cassandra stood at the focus of the remaining women's attention, her gaze intense and foreboding. There, surrounded by the newly turned earth and fallen stones, she spoke of the encroaching doom that their hearts dared not yet fully entertain. Foreseeing their capture by the Greeks, her revelations bore the weight of certainty, a grim truth that only beyond the veil of disbelief could be seen for what it was. Those gathered, Hecuba, Andromache, and Helen among them, looked upon Cassandra with a blend of skepticism and resignation. Despite her gift, or curse, of prophecy, her warnings had so often been met with incredulity. Yet here, in the quiet devastation of their homeland, her words were laced with an undeniable resonance, and a murmur of disbelief wove through the women like the whispering winds. Each prediction she laid bare was another thread in the tapestry of uncertainty that enveloped them all. The conversation shifted, and eyes turned to Helen, whose presence was a subject of both ire and fascination. Her role in the war, as catalytic as it had been, drew quiet accusations from broken hearts, her once revered beauty now regarded with a scornful eye. She stood amidst them, feeling their judgment weigh heavily upon her, each glance another reminder of her tarnished legacy. Yet, as whispers turned to soft accusations, her resolve remained. She had come to seek understanding, and so, in the ashes of bygone majesty, she faced the burden of her past. Cassandra, with a serenity born from resignation, spoke again, a vision of Helen's future, one marked by both her beauty and the chaos it incited. Her words wrapped the space in tense stillness, as the young prophetess, too familiar with the ordeal of seeing futures few would believe, exposed consequences beyond what Helen had already endured. This foresight, a revelation veiling tension and its clarity, struck through the inner courts of judgment the women held, pulling at the threads of conflict woven among them. Observing the strain stretching between past conflict and present anxieties, Hecuba, bereft but unbroken, sought to quell the rising tumult. Their queenly matriarch reminded each woman not just of their shared lament, but of their shared humanity, the legacy left to them stretching back through the ages of Troy's once proud heritage. She wove words of unity amidst sorrow and reproach, an attempt to broker peace in a world so recently given over to the gods of war. Listening to Hecuba's measured tones, Helen shared the remorse that had long since grown within her, like a shadow cast long over half her lived life. There, amidst the rubble and the wistful scent of ruin, she spoke quietly of the grief that clung to her heart and begged it be understood. Her explanations rang forth with sincerity, hoping to penetrate the armor of resentment surrounding her. Throughout this, Cassandra's resigned acceptance of her visions lingered in the air, like the smoke of their collapsed city. Years of dire predictions left unheeded had carved deep lines of acceptance in her soul. Her tragedies were measured now in the last breaths of her city, and each acceptance a sacrifice given so others might see what she herself could not prevent. Her every expression bore witness to a singular truth she had learned to endure. Prophecies fulfilled brought just as much sorrow as those ignored. And among the gathered women, a stirring of understanding began to take root. Their collective acceptance did not come easy. It grew gradually, like vines through the weathered stone. Shared glances, hesitant at first, became slowly steeped in empathy wrought from shared burdens. Despite the sharp stone edges of their differences, they stood united not by the past choices, but by the present reality binding them together. As the morning sun climbed, casting subdued oranges over broken towers, the women of Troy began to see through their differences and affronts, toward the common path of survival that stood before them. Even in the midst of unveiled tension, there was a growing recognition of their shared humanity, a realization that their sorrows, when gathered, were made lighter by the understanding that began to bloom like flowers from the ashes. And so, Cassandra, Helen, Andromache, and Hecuba turned thoughts toward continuing survival. The conflicts that had smoldered found resolution in their shared laments, and from those sentiments rose bonds forged anew in the quiet resolve to face what lay ahead. Together, they prepared to meet the future, hearts as one against the tumultuous backdrop of a reconfigured world, determined to protect the essence of who they had been, and who, against all odds, they might still become. As the sun arched high in the clear Aegean sky, its warmth did little to dispel the heavy shadows over the women of Troy. Standing at the edge of their once proud city, they gazed out at the sea, where dark forms marred the horizon. Greek ships, looming larger with each passing moment, spelled the certainty of their fate. A chilling realization crept among them. Freedom was slipping away, snatched by the relentless grasp of an unforeseen destiny ordained by their conquerors. Hecuba, their regal matriarch, gathered the women to confront the inevitable truth. She spoke softly yet firmly, acknowledging the waters home to more than the careless tides. The approaching fleet bore soldiers who would soon claim them as spoils of war. Yet, amidst this sinking reality, Hecuba drew upon an inner reservoir of courage, reminding them of the strength found in unity and shared dignity. Her words, though shrouded in the bitter taste of acceptance, summoned an ember of resilience among the women. Cassandra, Hecuba's daughter, known for her prophetic visions, stood by, her demeanor calm yet introspective. To the untrained eye, her acceptance could be mistaken for indifference, but it was simply the quiet fortitude of one who foresaw the inescapable. With a voice tempered by the arcane knowledge granted her, she shared her resigned acceptance of their fate. Her gentle murmurings bore the weight of her visions, glimpses of lives recanneled, spirits unbroken, amid foreign shores. Andromache, widow of the valiant Hector, turned inward, drawing strength from memories of the days gone by. The lingering presence of her husband, vibrant and valiant, whispered through the wind, offering solace and courage. As she gathered her belongings, her mind traversed a landscape filled with laughter and love, reminding her heart to carry those cherished remnants forward into the abyss of uncertainty facing them. The women prepared, hands busy with the mundane act of collecting what little they could salvage. In each shared glance, anxiety mingled with a steadfast resolve to uphold dignity. Conversations hung in the air, woven with unspoken words of fear and intuition of what lay ahead. For amidst chains and servitude, they sought to keep alive the spirit of Troy, collective remnants of a fractured past, aligning to craft a narrative of endurance. In a moment of solidarity, an unvoiced vow formed among them, a pledge to carry their regal heritage with every weary step. Though their bodies would be shackled, their dignity would remain untarnished, a silent rebellion against the chains of fate. It was a pact forged in shared tears and laughter, united not just by blood or loss, but by a fierce determination to persist. As the sails of the Greek ships billowed closer, visions of foreign lives flickered in their minds like haunting specters. They imagined themselves adapting, attempting to find fortitude in the fabric of everyday life. Sisters became mothers to new generations, bearers of Trojan tales spun under strange skies. They foresaw a tapestry of lives redrafted upon alien soil, yet the threads of Troy remained indelibly woven through. Ultimately, the women recognized the elemental truth: control had slipped beyond their grasp. Embracing this powerlessness allowed them to retreat inward, securing a citadel of resilience, a fortress built upon collective strength and hope. Acceptance of their fate, however unwilling, paved the way for strategically planning the uncertain journey that lay ahead. As the waters churned beneath the advancing fleet, these Trojan women stood resolute, bound by an unbreakable spirit that transcended the shackles closing in. Under the bright, unwavering sun that watched over the ruins of Troy, the Greek soldiers began to assemble the Trojan women, binding them as captives to their fate. The shore, once a place of bustling activity and vibrant life, now stood as a silent witness to their suffering. Hecuba, bearing the weight of both queenly dignity and maternal grief, addressed the gathered women. Her voice, laced with wisdom from years of rule, soothed their anxious hearts. She implored them to hold fast to their dignity, to cherish the unity that their shared hardships had forged, and to preserve the spirit of Troy within each of them as they faced this new ordeal. As if to embody this spirit, the women formed a human chain, clasping each other's hands in a silent vow of solidarity. Their fingers interlocked not only for physical support, but as a symbolic gesture of their pledge to remain strong, even as circumstances threatened to strip them of their identities. The ruins of Troy lay behind them, a city reduced to ashes and echoes, yet alive in the memories they carried. Feeling the pang of impending separation from their homeland, emotions surged like the waves that lapped gently at their feet. It was a bittersweet moment, filled with both lingering sorrow for what was lost and a burgeoning resolve for what must be endured. Among them, Cassandra stood quiet, her prophetic heart accepting the chains of fate with an understanding of destinies preordained. The prophecies that had once been curses now guided her with a fearful but resigned clarity. With the blistering sun casting long shadows across the sands, the women began their sorrowful farewell to Troy. Eyes glistened with unshed tears, both for the city that would never be rebuilt and for the memories etched into its walls, a lamentation not of despair, but of honor and remembrance. They stepped aboard the Greek ships lined along the shore, the vastness of the Aegean Sea stretching before them like a new chapter of an unwritten story. Amidst the rhythmic creaking of wooden ships, the women prepared themselves for the voyage. The unfamiliar expanse of the sea mirrored their feelings, overwhelming and intimidating, capable of capsizing upon them a flood of uncertainty. Yet embedded within this fear was resilience, a thread that persisted through every eye that scanned the horizon, seeking solace in understanding that together they would navigate these tumultuous waters. Hecuba, though wrapped in her own grief and loss, made a silent vow. It would be her charge to keep the spirit of Troy alive within this makeshift family, to weave strength from sorrow into an unbreakable bond that would endure whatever trials lay ahead. Her heart bore the hope that this unity would guide them in the unknown lands of their captors, allowing them to remain unyielding, with the Trojan legacy beating within their hearts like an eternal flame. As the women settled into the rhythm of the sea journey, they were no longer just captives bound for foreign shores. They became the embodiment of endurance, with each holding the weight of Troy's legacy in her heart. Through whispered memories of their past and the quiet strength found in each other's presence, they fostered a resilience that would not be easily extinguished. The journey ahead promised new phases of endurance and resilience, An odyssey not just across the waters which separated them from Troy, but into the depths of their spirits, where courage was born. Anew each day they remained united. The pale silhouette of the Greek shoreline unfolded before the eyes of the Trojan women, a tenuous thread between their shattered past and an uncertain future. As the ship entered the expansive harbor, the captives clutched the railings, observing the swirling bustle of a foreign land. Their hearts, already burdened by loss, grew heavier with the weight of anticipation. Hecuba stood among them, her presence as steady as the mountains surrounding the bay, offering reassurance, though even she was not immune to the silent tremors of anxiety that flitted amongst them. At this new beginning, Cassandra's insights into forthcoming hardships cast a pale shadow over her serene expression. Her resigned calm was a gentle balm for the others, who drew quiet strength from her foresight. She glimpsed the trials waiting beyond the horizon and accepted them, transforming fear into something that could be borne quietly and gracefully. In these moments, her role as a seer held a new depth, not as a harbinger, but as a silent strength flowing beneath tumultuous waters. The Greek kings awaited the captives, an audience that signified both their humiliation and an opportunity for resilience. Led by soldiers, the women traversed the unfamiliar streets, eyes downturned against the keen stares of onlookers, whispers coiling around them like invisible chains. Their new reality began to unfurl with every step they took on the hard cobblestones, marking them as living relics of a conquered city. Yet, within their hearts, the resolve to preserve their dignity, unbowed, shimmered quietly. Before the imposing grandeur of the king's residence, the women stood, uncertain yet defiant in their silence. Hecuba, regal despite the circumstances, sensed the weight of their gazes and knew her duty was not just to their survival, but to their spirits. Her gentle words whispered like a breeze, urging them to hold fast to their identities. In the eyes of the Greek court, they might be spoils, but in each other's eyes, they still saw daughters of Troy. Their new accommodations were a contrast to the open ruins and smoke-stained skies they had left behind. Stone walls enclosed spaces that once would have been rare luxuries, but now felt like unknown territories. Resources that surrounded them were both a boon and a reminder of their captivity, a striking difference from the once familiar stasis of Troy. But through Hecuba's quiet encouragement, they turned their thoughts from what was lost to what might still be retained. Throughout these initial days in the Greek lands, the women gradually adjusted under Hecuba's watchful guidance. She moved among them, offering reassurance, careful to quell their anxieties over the rigorous whispers of doubt. Her strength was a beacon, forming an unspoken promise of solidarity, a fragile yet unyielding vessel carrying the hope of a dignified future, however uncertain. As day faded into night, the echoes of uncertainty filled the silent spaces between the heartbeats of the Trojan women. They knew not what awaited them, yet there lay within them a determination as constant as the stars overhead. Gazing into the slowly fading light of dusk, they realized that though their surroundings had changed, they carried Troy within them. A shared purpose began to take root, gently overlaying their fears with resilience. The journey had not been merely a crossing of seas, but a transition into a new existence, layered with trials and unexpected alliances. Yet, they were resolved, each within her own heart, to navigate this unfamiliar world without surrendering their essence. In the silent vow shared among them, they committed not just to survival but to retaining the fabric of who they were, Trojans through and through. Thus, under the strange skies of Greece, amidst new scents and sounds, the captives from Troy took their first tentative steps into rebuilding lives. It was the dawn of a new chapter, fraught with hurdles, but infused also with an enduring spirit that the trodden shores, the ancient walls, and the hallowed memories of Troy had instilled in them. lesson in resiliency, ever poignant as their journey continued. As the Trojan women disembarked upon the foreign shores, a new chapter began, marked by uncertainty and the semblance of a fragile hope. The women, once part of a united lamentation, were now to be dispersed into separate Greek households. This separation could have sown seeds of disarray, but at the heart of their strength lay a sense of quiet determination, nurtured by Hecuba's unwavering leadership. Despite her own grief and the immense changes surrounding them, she ensured that no woman felt entirely alone. Her reassuring presence was felt even in the midst of their dispersal, an unspoken promise binding them together in spirit if not in proximity. Cassandra, Hecuba's daughter, found herself perceived with a respectful curiosity by those who encountered her. Her quiet demeanor and the mysterious allure of her prophetic gifts fostered an aura of acceptance, even admiration. She moved through this new world with a resignation that was neither bitter nor defeated. Her visions had prepared her, and this calm acceptance of fate earned her a solitude that was more revered than pitied. Though still distant in spirit, she was absorbed into the flow of her surroundings, becoming a gentle enigma in her new household. In another part of this new reality, Andromache discovered a flicker of strength in small acts of kindness. She connected with those around her through simple gestures, a helping hand here, a kind word there. Her experience as Hector's wife had taught her both poise and compassion, qualities that translated seamlessly into her new environment. At moments when grief clung sharply to her soul, it was through these acts of goodwill that she found solace, slowly garnering respect among the Greek women who began to look upon her with more than mere curiosity. For Helen, the journey was one of complex introspection. The past cast a long shadow, and her presence in Greece was a constant reminder of the war's destruction. Yet in accepting her struggles and the scrutiny she faced, latent alliances began to unfurl. The help she extended, and the remorse she expressed, forged quiet ties with those willing to see beyond her beauty and battle scars. It was a slow process, marked not by instant forgiveness, but by a gradual understanding that sometimes stretched across silent moments of shared humanity. As each woman shaped her existence within these new walls, the stories of Troy emerged as a lifeline to their shared identity. In the quiet warmth of evening flames, they gathered to speak of what once was, the soaring walls of Troy, the laughter of loved ones, the echo of victory songs now replaced by whispers in the night. These stories nurtured their spirits, infusing them with the resilience born of remembrance. It was through these narratives that they imparted the essence of their former lives, creating an invisible network of recollected strength. The practices of Troy did not fade into oblivion, as one might have feared. Instead, the women quietly crafted small rituals, embers of familiarity sparking amidst foreign embers. Whether a whisper of a prayer, the weaving of a pattern, or the preparation of a meal reminiscent of home, these were the threads they wove into their new reality. The melding of these customs with the Greek ways formed a delicate tapestry over time, one not easily discerned by an unknowing eye, yet significant to the hearts that knew their origins. An eventual understanding began to blossom within certain Greek households. The Trojan women were no longer seen solely as captives, but became part of the fabric of these homes. The strength and dignity they exuded left an indelible mark, reflected in softer exchanges, and a shared gaze that recognized the common threads of loss and endurance. In these burgeoning bonds lay the potential of a shared future, one where differences could intertwine to create a more profound unity. The women of Troy, despite the backdrop of foreign landscapes, sowed the seeds of new beginnings with an unspoken understanding that their roots ran deep. Through these tentative connections and the grace of shared pasts, they began to navigate their world's vastness, a testament to their enduring spirit. In the gentle hush of twilight, the women gathered in a quiet corner of a Greek courtyard, their figures blurred against the soft golds and warm reds of the dying sun. This was their silent haven where the echoes of their past resonated amidst the alien newness of their surroundings. Here, Hecuba cast her mind back to a childhood spent playing in the gardens of Troy, a precious memory that bore both comfort and sorrow. She could almost feel the texture of the blossoms under her fingertips and hear the whispering leaves in the wind, transporting her to a time untouched by the ravages of war. With a look of distant reverie, Cassandra spoke of her visions, not of ruin, but of Troy in its full glory, where the walls stood proud under the sun, pulsating with life and laughter. These visions, bestowed upon her with a clarity that was both a gift and a curse, painted a vivid tapestry of Troy's grandeur, immune to the passage of time. Cassandra's words wrapped around the women like a balm, softening the jagged edges of their loss and anchoring them to a past where they were whole. Andromache, the widow of noble Hector, let her mind dwell on the echoes of his laughter that once filled the corridors of their home. The memory conjured the warmth of his presence, his strength, and his unwavering love. In her heart, she carried these echoes as both a comfort and a beacon, guiding her through the shadows of her grief. The halls of Troy, now silent and shattered, lingered in her memory as sacred spaces of joy and unity. Helen, sitting slightly apart but no less immersed in the shared experience, contemplated the city that had been both her sanctuary and her source of strife. Her mind wandered through the duality of Troy, the beauty of its towering spires and vibrant streets, and the turmoil that her presence had wrought. Despite the weight of her regrets, Helen allowed herself a small measure of forgiveness, cherishing the moments of peace that Troy had once afforded her amidst the turmoil. As these memories unfolded, a gentle laughter, born of camaraderie and understanding, floated amongst them. The recollections brought a fleeting solace, knitting their spirits together despite the specter of hardship that loomed over their days. They found magic in these small moments, as each woman's history intertwined with the others, forming a tapestry of shared experiences and lasting bonds. Supporting one another through their tales, the women became pillars of strength, grounding each other in the essence of their homeland. Together, they gradually pieced together a mosaic of Troy's spirit, finding joy in stories that celebrated their shared past. In this collective sharing, they reinforced their resolve to preserve their culture and honor the city they had lost. Eventually, a silence, a tribute to the dignity of their fallen city, settled amongst the group. In this quietude, they imagined the horizon of Troy beyond the Greek walls, a place of indomitable spirit and enduring legacy. The silence was not mere emptiness, but a profound connection to their roots, a reflection of the city's inexhaustible spirit that still echoed in their hearts. This moment of reverence became a silent vow, renewing their commitment to uphold the dignity and heritage of Troy in every breath of their being. As the twilight deepened and shadows lengthened, the whispered stories of Troy flickered like embers, casting a resilient glow that would not easily be extinguished. This glow, born from memory and unity, fortified their spirits for the challenges yet to come. And with that promise sealed within their hearts, the women of Troy prepared to carry the indomitable spirit of their homeland into a future woven with the threads of both past sorrow and new fountains. Hope. Hecuba stood at the heart of the Greek household, her regal presence undiminished by the unfamiliar surroundings. The aftermath of the war was a tapestry of loss and dislocation, yet she urged her fellow Trojan women to learn and adapt. With calm wisdom, she encouraged them to understand Greek customs and language, recognizing that knowledge could become a bridge to survival. The language flowed like a river, strange yet holding a rhythm of its own, and Hecuba's guidance was a gentle nudge towards mastering it, a step towards a kind of freedom, even amidst captivity. Cassandra, known for her tragic foresight, found a serene repose in her new world. Her visions, once met with scorn and disbelief, became a silent beacon for those around her. The Greek hosts began to notice the tranquility Cassandra radiated, an unexpected calm from one who had witnessed the harrowing downfall of her city. Adopting a peaceful disposition, she became a figure of quiet intrigue, influencing onlookers who were drawn to her presence and the mystery surrounding her unshakable calm. Her acceptance of fate had become her armor, enveloping her like a gentle shroud. Andromache, the devoted wife of the fallen Hector, utilized her strengths where the opportunity arose. She found solace in helping the Greek women, offering skills honed during her life in Troy. Her tormented past did not deter her. Instead, she used it as fuel for resilience. She wove tales of her past into instruction for those willing to listen, sharing the arts of caregiving and weaving, which slowly garnered favor among her new peers. Her actions spoke louder than her sorrow, and her endurance served as an unseen hand, guiding her fellow captives toward a fragile but growing sense of acceptance in their new roles. Helen, whose beauty once launched 1,000 ships, began to delve into the intricacies of her actions and the war they set alight. No longer the focal point of scorn, she quietly reflected on her past, weighing the complexities of decisions that led to the present unfoldment. Gradually, she started to grasp the multifaceted nature of responsibility, realizing her journey toward redemption lay in understanding and mending the rift her choices had created. Though judgment still lingered in the air around her, she found subtle companionship in the shared experiences of the other women, a budding community founded on a common past and hope for an altered future. As days turned into weeks, the women began to forge a small community within the boundaries of their new world. Through shared responsibilities and whispers of laughter, they recreated a semblance of normalcy. They leaned on each other, understanding that unity was their greatest ally in this foreign land. Bonds strengthened as they carried and comforted one another, maintaining a thread to the spirit of Troy that had not been broken, only stretched across seas. Together, they embraced their shared heritage as a guiding light, affirming their identity even in the unfamiliar folds of an enemy's embrace. In these quiet days, the women initiated small roles within the Greek society. Like saplings braving the wind, they reached for the light of acceptance offered to them. They began to weave themselves subtly but surely into the fabric of Greek life, their competence and grace slowly earning respect. Through their efforts, glimpses of acceptance began to surface, each small acknowledgement a stepping stone towards their broader integration. These glimpses were enough to kindle a quiet hope among them, suggesting that perhaps acceptance was not a mirage, but a tangible future they were inching toward. Throughout it all, what remained unwavering was their dedication to keeping the spirit of Troy alive. Even as they adapted, the heart of their homeland beat steadily within their actions. In every shared task, in every woven basket, in every exchanged story under the shadowed reds of the evening, Troy lived on. They preserved their customs like precious relics, seen not just in the songs they sang softly into the night, but in the very way they carried themselves. Each moment spent around the warm hearth was a testament to their resilience, a reminder of the indomitable spirit they carried with them into this new chapter of their lives. As the early evening settled over this central Greek household area, shadows danced alongside the soft amber glow of the hearth, wrapping around this community of women. Their resourceful adaptation was a narrative of progress and acceptance, yet wrapped in resilience. It was here, surrounded by shared tools and tales, that they began to carve out a place for themselves, one grounded in the past but open to the possibilities of the future. In this transformative season of early summer, the Trojan women were not just surviving, but laying the groundwork for a legacy that would transcend borders and bind histories together. Accustomed to change, they faced the present with quiet resolve and looked to the next day with hopeful determination. Under the starlit expanse of the Greek sky, the Trojan women gathered with a renewed resolve. Hecuba, regal even in captivity, stood among them, her heart pulsing with a determination to preserve their heritage. She initiated the teachings of Trojan customs and hymns to the younger women, ensuring their cultural songs would echo within the hearts of future generations. The lessons took place under the moon's gentle gaze, the tranquil night offering a sense of timelessness to their voices, as if Troy itself whispered through the stars. Cassandra, gifted and cursed with her unerring prophecies, found a sense of peace in sharing spiritual insights inspired by their past. Her words wove a tapestry of wisdom, showing strength in adversity and hope in darkness. As she spoke about Troy's fabled glory, her aura seemed to amplify the constellations above, her spiritual reflections nurturing the women's battered spirits. They listened, drawing courage from her articulate visions of a future where their culture remained unbowed by conquest. Meanwhile, Andromache, ever resilient, organized gatherings for these women to share their Trojan culture. Under her guidance, they performed and celebrated rituals familiar to their homeland, albeit beneath foreign skies. The gatherings acted like a salve for their weary souls, a reminder of the unity and shared memories that bound them together. Within these gatherings, candles flickered against the night, casting warm shadows and reminding them that the light of Troy could never be extinguished by mere distance. Helen, the cause of their past afflictions, began to express her deep-seated regret through supportive actions. Observing the gatherings, she contributed quietly, helping in small, thoughtful ways that indicated her desire to reconcile with those she had unwittingly wronged. Though her beauty remained, it was her humility and commitment to assist and listen that began to mend the silent rift among them, a subtle acknowledgement that Troy's legacy included forgiveness and understanding. As time moved on, discussions arose about passing knowledge to children born in captivity. Hecuba spoke softly about the importance of storytelling, of instructing their young in the language of Troy, in its songs and histories. This knowledge was their gift, a diaphanous bridge linking Troy's past with its future. The women nodded, their resolve firm to ensure that their children would carry the torch of their ancestry, even as they grew under the shadow of Greek roofs. Together, they began to develop a shared cultural celebration within their Greek surroundings. Festivities unique to Troy found new life in the unfamiliar lands, as adults and children alike engaged in the songs, dances, and stories of their homeland. These celebrations acted as a beacon of identity, drawing the attention of curious Greek onlookers who, in time, found respect for the resilient foreign customs they witnessed. In their new environments, there emerged symbols of Troy delicately placed in quiet corners, a fragment from a beloved vase, a woven braid colored with the hues of their flag. Such tokens bore silent testament to a civilization still very much alive within their hearts. These symbols whispered to the winds, stories of heroism and heartbreak, resilience and hope. Finally, Hecuba reaffirmed the unity among them, despite the physical distance from their home. Her voice was steady, carrying a promise wrapped in the solemnity of a vow. She spoke of Troy not as ruins left behind, but as an eternal ember carried within each of them, fueled by shared laughter, tears, and dreams. As they stood under the midnight sky, the vastness above mimicked the limitless spirit they fostered. The chapter closed with them softly singing a Trojan hymn, their harmonious voices a tapestry binding past, present, and future. The settlement in the Greek lands became a new arena for the Trojan women, where the echoes of their past entwined with fresh ambitions. Hecuba, whose regal presence still commanded an awe that even the Greeks couldn't ignore, found herself integrating into the society by sharing the lessons ingrained in her by the rich history of Troy's rise and fall. Her wisdom, born from strife and endurance, resonated with the Greek leaders who sought to understand the true cost of war and the resilience forged within its tragic aftermath. Whether by counsel or through stories told around the evening fires, Hecuba imparted knowledge that transcended cultural barriers, fostering a newfound mutual respect between two once opposed civilizations. The Greeks looked upon Cassandra with a mix of awe and reverence. Despite the painful curse of her prophecies, she embraced a serene demeanor that captivated those around her. The Greeks, who once dismissed her visions as madness, began to acknowledge the depth of her insight, finding in her an unexpected source of guidance. Cassandra's prophecies, spoken gently and with an air of quiet acceptance, breathed new understanding into the Greek observers, showing them a path of wisdom entwined with caution. Her presence among them became a testament to divination's power, forging an unusual bridge that linked the spiritual realms of the Trojan and Greek worlds. Meanwhile, Andromache demonstrated a practical resilience that transformed households and communities. Her skills, honed in the bustling activity of Troy, became invaluable to her new neighbors. She taught Greek women the same resilience she fostered within herself, sharing techniques in homemaking and trade that subtly shifted the dynamic in their households. Through these small but significant contributions, Andromache became an embodiment of Trojan strength and adaptability, and her influence rippled through the Greek homes, revered and appreciated. In nurturing these new relationships, she sowed seeds of empathy and shared purpose, binding the communities closer together. Helen, carrying the weight of a past marked by strife, saw an opportunity for redemption by aligning herself with the women of both cultures. Her beauty, no longer the singular focus of her identity, blossomed into a force of reconciliation. She quietly fostered alliances that dissolved hostilities, sharing her insights into the whims of fate and love that had orchestrated the paths they walked. Helen's support cast a new light upon her, one that painted her not just as a harbinger of discord, but as a bearer of peace and a bridge toward unity. Her efforts were met with gratitude, marking the beginning of a more harmonious existence. The Greeks began to recognize the value these women brought, as their presence enriched and transformed the society that had once been their captor. Their integration of Trojan customs into Greek life was not without its challenges, yet, over time, a symbiotic society began to emerge. New traditions took root, forged through shared experiences and a growing sense of mutual respect. From festivals to small acts of cultural exchange, the fusion of Trojan resilience and Greek philosophy was embodied in the generation that followed, a testament to the strength of their shared humanity. With children born of both heritages, the spirit of Troy found a new vessel through which to thrive. The younger generations, nurtured by the stories and values passed down from Hecuba, Cassandra, Andromache, and Helen, embraced their dual identities with honor and pride. These children, living symbols of unity, carried forward the lessons of their mothers, acting as living proof of how adversity could breed strength and evolution. They played under the same sun that watched over their ancestors, yet their lives were shaped by a tapestry interwoven with diverse threads of history and culture. In this symbiotic environment, a societal harmony not only looked back at the shadows of old adversities, but also anticipated a future painted in brighter hues. The resilient spirit of Troy, resurrected in a new land, illuminated pathways of understanding and unity. Through the enduring influence of these women, a community emerged stronger and more resolute, affirming that from the ruins of desolation, hope and strength could be reborn. The integration of Trojan heritage into their lives ensured that the legacy of those lamenting women continued to echo beyond the Aegean shores. As dusk settled in serene hues of pink and purple, the community gathered in a central space to celebrate a newly forged symbol of their unity. Here, at this symbolic representation of their collective journey, they found a moment of peace, their faces shining with the soft glow of optimism. The people, both Trojans and Greeks alike, stood together in harmony, embodying the triumphant spirit of collaboration that they had slowly built together. The gentle breeze whispered promises of enduring strength and new beginnings, as those present silently vowed to let this union guide them through whatever future lay ahead. The dawn painted the sky with soft hues of gold and orange, as a new day broke gently over the landscape where the legacy of Troy's women was destined to endure. Hecuba, standing amid the gathered community, reflected on the journey they had undertaken. Her heart was heavy with the weight of loss, yet light with the promise of an indomitable legacy. She mused about the remarkable path they had traced through adversity into a hopeful future. The scepter of Troy, now a symbol of resilience that bridged past and present. Cassandra, with her visions that once seemed a curse, now served as a beacon for future visionaries. Her tales, once filled with foreboding and sorrow, transformed into lessons of wisdom and caution for the new generations. These stories, spun from threads of foresight, encouraged the young to gaze beyond what was visible and to embrace their intuition in navigating the complexities of life. Cassandra became not just a storyteller, but a revered sage whose narratives fueled the intellect and imagination of future seers. Andromache's quiet strength and enduring spirit lived on through the traditions she inspired in the local community. Her steadfastness during suffering was emblematic of how hardship could be set aside, in favor of building a new world from the fragments of the old. Her ability to foster community organization became the template for local fairs and gatherings, where tales of courage mingled seamlessly with the everyday melodies of life. Through her, Troy's unwavering resilience became woven into the fabric of daily existence. As for Helen, whose beauty and role in the war once brought judgment, her acts of redemption were now acknowledged through her contributions to community acts of healing and unity. Once derided, Helen's story evolved into one of profound transformation, teaching the essence of forgiveness and the power of bringing fragmented souls together. Her renewed dedication to aiding reconciliation became a cornerstone for peace, cherished by those who understood that it was not beauty, but the heart's intentions, which truly defined influence. The children of Troy, born into a world far removed from the grandeur of their homeland, found joy in their dual heritage. With laughter echoing in their voices and light in their eyes, they danced between traditions with an ease that bespoke confidence and hope. They held the songs and stories of Troy close, yet eagerly embraced the customs of their new home. These young ones, free yet tethered to a proud history, embodied a bridge from the past into a vibrant, harmonious future. Thus, as new generations embraced the spirit of Troy, they carried the torch of its legacy with pride. The rich narrative of Troy, kept alive through song, dance, and ritual, wove itself into the developing tapestries of this blended society. Hecuba realized how every trial they had endured constructed the foundation for the triumphs to come. In this realization, the spirit of Troy melded with the heart of a new land, crafting patterns of cultural evolution reaching forward through time. In gentle reflection, the gathered women contemplated the hardships that had been, recognizing them as etchings in a map that led to current triumphs. Their collective strength, rooted in shared history, became a guide for futures yet to unfold. Hecuba watched as understanding illuminated faces around her, a soft glow revealing not only resolve, but an unbroken spirit standing firm against the passage of time. Their collective vision, once born of struggle, now beamed as a beacon of enduring strength, humming through Troy's surviving souls. The dawn whispered promises of a day where the legacy of these resilient women continued to echo through time. As the light grew brighter, illuminating each gathered face, it was clear they united under one sacred vow, that the passage of their indomitable spirit would remain unbroken, forever guiding those who would follow in their footsteps. The spirit symbol, a testament to Troy's enduring essence, stood against the newly dawned day, its presence a focal point of hope and unity. Under this immaculate beginning, Their narrative of strength and resilience was set to continue. Here, with spirits renewed and hearts emboldened, the legacy of Troy's women was not bound to history, but lived as an everlasting testament to their courage and resolve.